This is a Fantasy Ladder Podcast, episode 39. I'm your host, Steve, at Fantasy Ladder. This podcast is brought to you by the IDP Guys Network. So, welcome back once again, my fantasy football friends and family. Let's climb the ladder of fantasy football together. So, week 15 of NFL action is now upon us. Congratulations if you advance to the next round of your playoffs, or if your playoffs are starting this week, congrats for making it. And boy, this is quite the week to have that first round bye, just because there's a lot of tricky injury situations to monitor this week, but I just have to make the best of it. So if you got that first round bye, thank goodness you can just have a stress-free weekend here. But if you are in it, you obviously are in it to win it. So just going to go through each of the matchups this week to try to help guide you through your thinking of lineup optimization using the trust if you must and bust system for all the matchups. We'll try to hit on all the notable players. And if there's any players I did not mention, just feel free to hit me up on Twitter at Fantasy Ladder. See if you have any questions about them. Just feel free to reach out anytime. I am pretty accessible, so just don't hesitate. This is a kind of a funky week because we have the normal primetime games Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, but there's also 3 Saturday games, so we will cover those 6 games first, and then we'll go through the early slate on Sunday, then the later slate on Sunday. Let's go through each of the matchups one by one. Before we do that, I just want to remind you of the trust if you must and bust system and what that means and how to utilize it. Essentially, a trust, anyone who I would classify as a trust is just any player you are playing, uh, regardless of the matchup. So just have full confidence starting them in this particular week. If you must is a little bit trickier. If it is a more shallow league, then the if you must is more of a bench. If it's a deeper league, multiple flex spots, really deep bench, then they are more of a play for that week. And then a bus is a player you're just happy to have on your roster, but just cannot play them just because of their questionable injury situation or usage in the offense because of injury to a player ahead of them. An example, what would be like the Seahawks backfield. It's a quick week, Thursday night against a tough 49ers defense. If Kenneth Walker is 100%, you'd want to start him, of course, but any of the backups that are behind him, like Travis Homer, Tony Jones. We're not exactly sure how that's going to shake out, and it was pretty ugly in week 14. Those would be busts. So fine to have on your roster, but just are not really in a position to want to get them into your lineup, especially in the playoffs, unless just something becomes very clear week 15. Uh, Perhaps we can bump them up a little bit for the following week. So a little bit of nuance there, but it is just ever so critical now that we are in the playoffs and really are just very much in it to win it. So I'll be going through the matchups with that system. So without further ado, we'll start with Thursday night football. Got the, like I said, the San Francisco 49ers at the Seattle Seahawks. The over under for this game at this point of the week is 43 and a half. So on the 49ers side of the ball, you can definitely trust Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk. Debo Samuel hurt his ankle, so he will be out this week and likely for the next few weeks. So for your fantasy football playoffs, it's looking like you're not going to be able to implement Debo Samuel, which really stinks. But the 49ers have the postseason on their mind. They definitely want him to get right for the actual NFL playoffs. So that definitely a stinky one for fantasy, unfortunately. But um, real life football does supersede fantasy football. So in that case, not going to be using Debo Samuel most likely. Now with the quarterback situation, Brock Purdy um, absolutely balled out against the Buccaneers last weekend. So if he is active right now, he's questionable. If he is active, I think he can be implemented as a super flex option against Seattle. Then on the Seattle side of the ball, as I mentioned about the running back situation, definitely best to avoid here. But however, you could still utilize Geno Smith as a super flex uh, level quarterback against a tough 49ers defense. And of course, you can trust Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. Anyone outside of those three, not really one team to trust in that offense. Sunday Night Football. This was a flexed matchup from a couple weeks back. The New York Giants will be at the Washington Commanders with a 40.5 over under right now. So on the Giants side of the ball, you can definitely trust Daniel Jones as a borderline QB1 or as a super flex option. Um, as far as the Giants quarterback position goes, the running back, obviously Saquon Barkley, if he's 100%, you can definitely trust him against the Commanders. They're not going to scare me off of him. However, he did not play a ton against the Eagles because he was questionable going into week 14 with that neck issue. So he just may be playing a limited number of snaps. That's going to be something to monitor throughout the week. Just check the practice reports, see about his availability. If he's active, it's going to be really hard not to get him into your lineup. So I would trust him either way, but expectations must be tempered just because of the results of the previous week against the Eagles. It just might not be clear just how much of a role he will have if that neck injury is still lingering. As far as the wide receivers go and general pass catchers, definitely don't feel great about any of them. Although Darius Slayton would come in as a uh, deeper league flex play. So he's definitely is an if you must, more on the bench side in a shallow league, and then a possible start in a deeper league. On the Commanders side of the ball, if they still roll with Tyler Heineke at quarterback, he could be utilized as a super flex play as well. I think you can start both Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson in the backfield. As far as the wide receivers and pass catchers go, you can definitely trust Terry McLaurin. Um, Anyone else in that offense, I'm a little iffy on. Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson, and Logan Thomas, I think, are definitely deeper league plays. Logan Thomas, more of a desperation play, as well as Jahan Dotson, just as they have been kind of coming back from their injuries. They have not been fully utilized in the offense necessarily. And then Curtis Samuel has just been a little bit up and down. So best to avoid, but definitely see some potential. In that offense for sure. Just would feel the best about the running backs, Taylor Heineke as a QB2, and the run and Terry McLaurin. Sorry. Monday Night Football to end the week. We got the Los Angeles Rams at the Green Bay Packers. So the Packers, like the Commanders, are fresh off of the bye week. So on the Packers side of the ball, I believe you can trust Aaron Jones. Even AJ Dillon could be implemented as a flex play. We get Christian Watson back. So hopefully another opportunity for him to score another touchdown as he's scored, I think, at least one 3 weeks straight before the bye week. So it was just incredible. Aaron Rodgers can be trusted here as well. And then Robert Tunyon is a deeper league tight end play. Wide receivers, other than Christian Watson, just a lot of if you musts. So Alan Lazard would be more of an if you must, kind of a deeper flex play, as well as Randall Cobb. But that's more of a deeper flex play for sure. On the Rams side of the ball, it's looking like Baker Mayfield is going to start. This one. So really cool thing to see him win last Thursday night with the come from behind victory against the Raiders. But definitely need to have tempered expectations. He's been a little up and down this season. And then just a second week into the system against a tough Green Bay defense in Green Bay. Don't really love that for him, especially just with the depleted weapons in that offense. I think Tyler Higbee is kind of an if you must tight end play. He was very trustable vast majority of the season, but the circumstances of that offense are just very different now. So he just gets a little bit of a downtick there as far as confidence. And then Van Jefferson would also be a deeper league flex play. going on with the running backs, I think Cam Akers would be a deeper league flex play, as well as Kyron Williams, although he's more of a desperation play at this point. Um, Akers coming off of a two-touchdown game 2 weeks ago. Then last week he gets a touchdown, but then also had a fumble. So it'd be interesting to see if Kyron Williams and him have more of a 50-50 split, just as they are in evaluation mode. So best to avoid that situation as far as I'm concerned, but can be utilized in a deeper flex situation. Now on Saturday, we have 3 games, which is very cool. I think some of the networks try to get the practice of, like, the NFL playoffs here, as they will start to have some, Saturday games for, like, the wild card round, but, the first game on Saturday is the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. This has the highest, or tied with the actually, no, just kidding, tied for the second highest over under of the week at 48 and a half. So definitely want to get a lot of players in this matchup if you can. So on the Minnesota side of the ball, still going to be trusting all your Vikings: Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, T.J. Hawkinson, Dalvin Cook. On the Colts side of the ball, I think Matt Ryan potentially could be implemented as a super flex. Just because of the potential high scoring in this game. So that's kind of interesting. Although the most trustworthy would be Jonathan Taylor, the running back. And as far as the wide receivers go, you could definitely trust Michael Pittman the most, then Alec Pierce as a deeper league flex play. Moving on, second game on Saturday, the Baltimore Ravens at the Cleveland Browns. The Ravens are just kind of a mess as far as their offense is concerned. Um, Lamar Jackson's already out. Tyler Huntley came in last week to get the start. Then he got concussed. So his status, I think, is still a little bit up in the air on this one. So what was encouraging about the Ravens was J.K. Dobbins he did return to the field and actually played really good. He had a touchdown and everything. So you definitely like that. If you have Dobbins, I think you could trust him as like a flex option level. But anyone else in that offense, definitely going to be a little bit hard to trust. Just basically at this point, just not really sure who the quarterback is going to be, even if it is Huntley. I think you do like him to a certain degree, to a considerable degree, maybe as a deeper super flex. Start there, but with a 38 and a half over under, that's one of the lowest of the week. So, kind of want to avoid um, the Ravens' offensive pieces if I can help it. On the Browns side of the ball, I think you can continue to trust Nick Chubb and Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he's more of a flex play from a wide receiver standpoint. I do think Deshaun Watson once again can come in as a super flex play. Had a much better week last week against the Bengals from a fantasy standpoint, as I did predict. It was going to be a little bit better of an opportunity for him to kind of open up the offense compared to 2 weeks ago against the Texans, where just the Cleveland defense really took care of a lot of the scoring damage there and the special teams. So I think he can be trusted. And then Donovan Peoples Jones, as I mentioned, as well as Amari Cooper, had a disappointing game last week. However, always want to be trusting Amari Cooper as far as I'm concerned. And then David Njoku as well, trustworthy tight end option against the Ravens. Last game on Saturday, we are looking at the Miami Dolphins at the Buffalo Bills, over under set at 42. Uh, the Miami Dolphins played last on Sunday night against the Chargers. Um, Tyreek Hill looked like he hurt his ankle a bit, so you got to kind of watch his availability throughout the week. Obviously, if he's healthy, you're going to be trusting him as well as Jalen Waddle week to week. Tua Tagovailoa will come in as more of a super flex option here, just against the tough Buffalo Bills. Don't love that as a matchup, but still has a lot of good weapons in the offense, obviously with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Um, right, the running backs I do want to avoid in this game. Jeff Wilson did hurt his hip, and then Raheem Mostert was just okay. He was just kind of average against the Chargers. So if Jeff Wilson can't go, I would like Mostert as just a volume play. Although limited expectations against the Bills. So he would come in as an if you must, more of a deeper play there. And then on the Buffalo Bills side of the ball, obviously you're still trusting Josh Allen, you're trusting Stephon Diggs. Anyone else behind them will come in as more of an if you must. So uh, Gabe Davis and Dawson Knox specifically. Are just more of an if you must level players at this point. I think Dawson Knox would get like a little bit of a bump up just because the Bills did add Cole Beasley as a pass catcher in the middle of the week, and they still have Isaiah McKenzie and some other guys to kind of pass the ball around to. So um, basically, if Gabe Davis isn't scoring like a big long touchdown, kind of hard to use at this point. So probably just best to avoid right now. Um, on the running backs, Devin Singletary and James Cook. Both of them are if you must in deeper leagues. So that'll do it for the primetime games and the Saturday games. We're now going to go on to the Sunday early slate, starting with the Eagles at the Bears. Philadelphia Eagles at the Bears with a 48.5 over under. So another one of those that was tied for the second highest of the week. So definitely want to start a lot of players in this matchup. Should be a lot of scoring. Where we are very happy to have Justin Fields back after the bye week. So we'll start with the Bears. Justin Fields, you can trust. I think David Montgomery can be utilized as a trust. More like trust if you must level. The Eagles are still a tough defense, so I just want to temper expectations there, but I think it's going to be hard to not trust David Montgomery with a lot of the injuries and questionable situations across the league as far as the running backs are concerned. Wide receivers for the Bears, don't want to start any of them, but I think Cole Kmet will come in as an if you must tight end option. Then on the Eagles side of the ball, you're going to start all your relevant Eagles. So in this case, it's Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, AJ Brown, and Devonta Smith. Easily starting all four of them as we normally do. Next game will be the Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints, coming in with a 43 points over under. The Falcons are going to be going to their rookie quarterback in this one. So Desmond Ritter gets the start. Marcus Mariota will come off the bench. So just a very interesting situation to monitor here, see how the Falcons offense goes, against the Saints. As far as the Falcons players are concerned, not necessarily ready to start Ritter just yet. Just really want to more just wait and see how this game goes. Don't want to have to be trusting him in my playoff matchup. I think Cordero Patterson can be utilized as an if you must running back, and then Drake London would come in more as a deeper league flex play. Anyone outside of Cordell Patterson and Drake London, for the most part, just very avoidable here. The Saints are still a pretty good defense, so just don't really want to utilize any Falcons skill position players if I can help it. Then on the New Orleans Saints side of the ball, we are trusting Alvin Kamara despite the up and down season he has had. Um, I don't want to get too cute and avoid um, studs or like former studs. So I would roll with Alvin Kamara as well as Chris Olave, the wide receiver there. Tight ends. Jawan Johnson, he did not suit up the last game they played, but coming off of the bye here, he is questionable. So just want to keep an eye on his availability. He has been he has been pretty efficient as far as touchdown scoring goes. So you just never really want to bank on that. But since just tight end is just really gross, um, he probably wouldn't be the worst option. You're not going to feel great about it. Jarvis Landry would also come in as a deeper wide receiver play here. If Jawan Johnson is not able to suit up, then I would treat Taysom Hill as more of an if you must tight end option. Then Andy Dalton, of course, would be a super flex option in this one. Although I would not really want to rely on Andy Dalton in my fantasy playoffs if I could help it. Um, Especially with all the teams off of bye right now, there should be. a second quarterback you can throw in there over him. But just I do like the matchup against the Falcons. So that's basically is the angle. Next matchup would be the Detroit Lions at the New York Jets. Over under right now set at 44 and a half. So as far as the Lions are concerned, um, pretty much business as usual. Would feel pretty comfortable firing up like the primary weapons in that offense. Just the New York Jets defense is legitimate, so just have to temper expectations a bit. Outside of Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's just an absolute stud. You're starting him no matter what. I think Jared Goff comes in as a borderline QB1, super like a top tier super flex play. DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams are kind of coming in as like if you must running back options. And then as far as the wide receivers go, behind Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think DJ Chark has been very consistently performing the last 3 weeks now. He can obviously he can be a pretty firm flex play at this point in that offense. On the New York Jets side of the ball, still sort of monitoring the running back splits between Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter. I think Zonovan Knight has showed enough that he can be utilized as a flex play. Garrett Wilson is a borderline trust if you must option as far as the wide receivers are concerned. Um, and then as far as the quarterback situation goes, if Mike White is fully active and ready to go, I believe he could be utilized as a super flex play against the Lions. And then Tyler Conklin would come in as an if you must tight end option. Elijah Moore could be in for a good outing here. Still a big fan of his. However, just has been just very up and down as far as his utilization in the offense. Next matchup, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers at Carolina Panthers with an over under currently set at 38 and a half. Kenny Pickett left the game early with a concussion. So Mitch Trubisky came in and just did not play very well. So monitor which quarterback is going to be playing as far as a super flex option is concerned. You like the matchup against the Panthers if Pickett is 100%. I think he could be utilized as a super flex play. Um, as far as the wide receivers go, Deontay Johnson would come in as a trustworthy flex option. Najee Harris, you can trust him. George Pickens, fine to have, just not necessarily looking to get him in my lineup right now at this point. Uh, and then Pat Fryermuth, the tight end, is a trustworthy tight end option against the Panthers. On the Panthers side of the ball, we're looking at Sam Darnold. He would be a desperation super flex play here. Not super thrilled to get him into my starting lineup right now. Outside of Donta Foreman and maybe Chuba Hubbard. There's not really a lot of Panthers I would feel great about playing here. DJ Moore is always a flex play. However, he did leave the Week 14 game early with an injury, so I just have to kind of keep an eye on his availability in that one. But anyone behind him, like Terrace Marshall, would not want to trust as far as a start, but definitely find a hold on your bench. Next game would be the Dallas Cowboys at the Jacksonville Jaguars. 47 and a half over under. So this could be a pretty exciting game. Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars side can absolutely be trusted despite it being a tough Dallas defense. So you can trust Trevor Lawrence. You can trust um, a lot of the pass catchers there. It is getting spread around a bit. So Christian Kirk is getting some, Zay Jones is getting some, Evan Ingram went nuts. The tight end went absolutely crazy last week. But they would all come in as like borderline trust if you must options. Christian Kirk more of a trustworthy play. Evan Ingram, just due to the nature of the tight end position, he just becomes interesting just because there's just not a lot going on around the league there. Um, Travis Etienne, we hope he's fully healthy, but definitely have to temper expectations against the Cowboys. But he would be more of a flex play, borderline sit, just because it's against the Cowboys. So, uh, yeah. On the Dallas side of the ball, I think you can fire up all your Cowboys: Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Ezekiel Elliott, Tony Pollard, of course, and Dalton Schultz. I would I would not shy away from starting any of them. Guys like Michael Gallup and behind him are fine to have on your teams. Just would be a little bit iffy about starting them. I think Gallup could potentially be a deeper league if you must like multi flex wide receiver play. That type of a league, I think you could start him in. And then we have Kansas City at the Houston Texans. On the Texans side of the ball, their carousel of mediocre to crappy quarterback play continues, from Davis Mills to Kyle Allen, back to Davis Mills, and now Jeff Driscoll. So some of that is just the quality of the play. Some of that is also Brandon Cooks not playing the last 2 weeks, and then Nico Collins not playing last week. So just not a lot going on there. Guys like Chris Moore, who are nice to add. I don't know if I would really feel great about trusting them here against the Chiefs. And then Damian Pierce, the really hot rookie running back, is unlikely to play in this one, leaving the running back duties up to Rex Burkhead and Dare Obenguale. Fine to add these guys. Um, Keep an eye on on the practice reports. I think both of them could be interesting PPR, like deep league flex plays, just because it's against Kansas City. The Texans are going to move the ball somehow, so I think it's just kind of high percentage opportunities for like the pass catching running backs, like they are. So just keep an eye on who's slated to start, who might be more who might be slated to get a little bit more work. But either way, they're going to be coming. They're going to be playing from behind, so that they could be seeing a lot of targets. So that could be kind of a sneaky play. Just not going to feel great having them in that lineup unless you really need to. On the Chiefs side of the ball, I think you can fire up obviously Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, Juju Smith Schuster, of course, and Isaiah Pacheco. Even Jarek McKinnon, I think could be trustworthy as well. Um, both running backs could be slated for a fantastic game. If they get a big lead early, they could even be involved in getting that lead early, and then they can just kind of run the clock down, just getting a lot of carries there. So I'm very interested in both McKinnon and Pacheco. Obviously, Mahomes, and then the pass catchers behind Juju Smith Schuster. Don't really want to trust any of them, but still fine to hold on your bench just because it is a Kansas City offense. You like pass catchers in good offenses. Got my Gemo the Icon sticker on the water bottle now. I will be on Gemo the Icon on the Icon show on Wednesday night. So keep an eye out for that. December 14th, I will be making my first appearance on the Icon show. So keep an eye out for that. We are now going to wrap up the show going through the Sunday late slate. I got the Arizona Cardinals at the Denver Broncos. Um, Basically, on the Cardinals side of the ball, really devastating news with Kyler Murray tearing his ACL, or officially has a torn ACL, I should say. He exited the Monday Night Football game against the Patriots on the third play of the game. So it just was absolutely brutal. Um, so Colt McCoy is going to be the starter from here on out as long as he's healthy. So that just basically makes you temper your expectations for the entire offense. Although the most trustworthy players here are going to be James Conner and DeAndre Hopkins. I think Hollywood Brown can still be implemented as a flex play. Um, Trey McBride as a really deep league tight end play. Anyone outside of them, just best to avoid right now. So that's just a really crappy situation. We hope Kyler can come back quickly and better than ever. On the Denver Broncos side of the ball, still don't really want to trust anyone in this offense, although the offense did have a little bit of a resurgence there against the Chiefs coming from behind. So Russell Wilson in this one. Still would consider him a super flex play, despite just the offense just being just typically bad. Jerry Judy really popped off last week, so he would come in as more of a trustworthy, if you must level wide receiver option. Greg Dulcich is still more of an if you must tight end option. Don't want to start any of the running backs on the Broncos offense, and then keep your eye on Cortland Sutton. Obviously, if he's active, you like to get him in your starting lineup, but he was not active last week. So maybe that's why Judy had a little bit more extra attention his way in the passing game. Either way, keep your eye on that, but limit your expectations in general because the Denver Broncos offense has been brutal. This game, of course, will have the lowest over under of the week at 36 and a half. Moving on to the New England Patriots at the Las Vegas Raiders. Over under set at 44 and a half. Big headline here in this matchup is that the running backs. So Josh Jacobs, it seemed like he hurt his pinky finger in the Thursday night game last week. So he is questionable right now. If he is active, he should still get the majority work there. So obviously he's a smash. Even though you can maybe temper expectations a little bit against the Patriots defense, but either way, don't get cute. I would still start him. I think you could utilize Derek Carr as a super flex play, and obviously Devontae Adams as a wide receiver. Foster Moreau, just absolutely brutal. Put up a goose egg on the Thursday night game. Hard to trust, but just with the tight end landscape. He comes in as an if you must tight end play here. Just super frustrating outing for him. Then on the New England side of the ball, Ramondre Stevenson left the game early. It was an absolutely brutal week for injuries. So he had an ankle injury there. He is currently questionable. He may not suit up, so just keep your eye on that. If no Ramondre Stevenson, both Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris, the rookies there in New England, played decently well as Damian Harris was out. So that's another thing I got to keep an eye on because Damian Harris could be questionable as well here. Um, it's just kind of messy there in New England. Just a lot of guys are banged up. And then Mac Jones has just been kind of subpar. I thought he would have had a couple opportunities to um, fill up the stat sheet a little bit more. He did not, just still just kind of very mediocre. He would be basically a super flex play here. Even though it could be a high scoring affair, I just want to kind of temper expectations just with him in general because a lot of the pass catchers are also not 100%. So Jacoby Myers did not play in that Monday night game. He is questionable going into this one. Then Devontae Parker left the game early with a concussion, so he may not suit up here. So if those top two pass catchers are out, then we're looking at Hunter Henry, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, and Tyquan Thornton, um, making all of them just again fine to have on your roster, but just not trustworthy plays, with the exception of Hunter Henry in as a deeper league tight end play. Okay. Moving on to the Tennessee Titans at the Los Angeles Chargers. I think on the Titans side of the ball, it's just pretty simple stuff. I think Ryan Tannehill can be utilized as a super flex, and Derrick Henry, of course, is a trustworthy running back. As far as the pass catchers go, it's been fun to see Chig Akwonu, the rookie tight end, sort of take off here in the last 2 weeks. I think he could be utilized as an if you must tight end play for sure. And then to keep your eye on Traylon Burks' availability. He was ruled out last week after having the concussion the week before against the Eagles. So if he's active, you definitely like the opportunity against the Chargers and what could be a high scoring game with an over under of 47. Um, if he is inactive, I think you can start to take a look at Robert Woods as a if you must um, wide receiver, like a deeper league flex play. Then to wrap up the Sunday slate, we have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'll start with the Buccaneers. On the Buccaneers side, I think Tom Brady can be utilized as a super flex. borderline QB1 play. I think you can trust Rashad White and then also Leonard Fournette as long as he is healthy. Wide receivers, I think you're still not going to shy away from Mike Evans or Chris Godwin. Julio Jones, fine to have on your roster, but definitely would not feel great about starting him. Cade Otton, once again, will come in as a deeper league tight end option here, just because of the nature of the matchup. It could be a lot of scoring with a 44-point over under. Cincinnati Bengals, we need to talk about the Bengals. So Tyler Boyd left the game early with a finger injury. Um, T. Higgins had a hamstring issue, which was kind of not communicated well throughout the week. He had limited practices later in the week. But as far as Sunday was concerned, he was active, he was good to go, and I believe he only played one snap. So really brutal if you had T. Higgins in your lineups in week 14, either playing in a playoff matchup or trying to fight for a playoff spot. Absolutely brutal. There's not much we can do about it. We are trying to play this game to minimize risk. So if a player of his stature is active and healthy or seemingly healthy, you can't blame yourself for starting him. So really have to try to keep an eye on his availability this week. Should be a smash spot, especially if Tyler Boyd can't go and if Hayden Hurst is still out. Um, but still going to be a frustrating one, perhaps, just because the coaches just don't care about our fantasy squads, and they honestly shouldn't, but it is just a frustrating bit of lack of information to use. But Joe Burrow, of course, can still be trustworthy, as well as Jamar Chase. As far as the running backs go, I do think that both Joe Mixon is a trust, and then Samaje Perine is more of a if you must deeper league flex play. So that'll do it for week 15. So thank you for listening. Best of luck in all your leagues. Like the video, subscribe to the IDP Guys YouTube channel, and be sure to give me a follow on Twitter at Fantasy Ladder. Thanks for listening. Keep climbing, and good luck.